Hello there, wonderful people out there in social media and online lands. This is me, Ben Calder, for the BTPA, the Bowen Therapy Professional Association. Going to have a slightly different conversation today. We're speaking with Richard Baverstock, who is based down in Leicester at the Absolute Health Clinic. And for many, many years, for 6 years now, he's been the treasurer and the membership secretary here at the BTPA. And I figured we haven't actually, in this kind of 18 months of doing these interviews, we haven't actually spoken to any of the committee about the BTPA, the role of the BTPA, the importance of the BTPA. And I figured this was a really important conversation. We're just 2 weeks out from our AGM on the 4th of October being held in Shropshire. And we've got a wonderful personal development day being run by Phil Stewart of Assessment-Led Bodywork, looking at neck palpation and treatment, which is open to non-members as well as members. But I figured it was a really good time just to talk about where the BTPA is, because we're aware of declining membership across a lot of associations through the UK, not just ours, but it's that rallying call, that call to action to draw the Bowen practitioners in, to encourage Bowen practitioners to be part of the association, and why that is important for you, and some of the things that it allows you to be able to do, which includes things like being able to be referred to by GPs, being able to allow your clients to claim back their treatments through insurance. And we talk about things like social prescribing and the state of the NHS and this key point in history that we have to fill this gap where the NHS is struggling. Richard has been practicing since 2001 as a Bowen practitioner, osteopath since 2008 as well. He was part of the Tom Bowen Legacy Trust and helped to manage that for a number of years here in the UK, charity that helps for equipment and other facilities for disabled children as a gift from Tom Bowen's work. So this is a lovely interview. It's really good. And I'm really glad that Richard was able to come and speak to me about this. So without further ado, just remember, hit those like and subscribe buttons. You help us more than you realize by subscribing to updates, by sharing the work, by liking it. So, if you could do that for us, that would really help. And we can keep bringing you these interesting and useful interviews. So let's get on. Let's speak to Richard now and have a good call. Take care. Well, hello, Richard. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining me here in the BTPA podcast studio today.
Thanks, Ben. Good to be here.
No problem. I thought it would be kind of nice. We've been doing these interviews now for 18 months. And I haven't yet really spoken to anyone on the BTPA committee. And I thought it would be, we're just a couple of weeks away now from our AGM on the 4th of October in Oswestry, where we're going to have the wonderful Phil Stewart coming in to offer what will be a really enlightening PD day on palpating and working with the neck. And so I thought it would be really nice for us just to have a little conversation about the BTPA, where we're at, what our prognosis, what our kind of forward-looking pattern is over the next couple of years. And because we've been putting all this stuff out. We're getting hundreds and hundreds of views of stuff through our YouTube channel. And it might be nice just to know a little bit more about who the BTPA are, what we're doing, what the importance of us as an organization is, and to encourage more people to kind of get involved and be interested in us as an organization. Before we kind of get into the meat of all of this, I think it'd be really nice because, again, there's probably a lot of people who might have seen your name on an email or might kind of have a bit of an awareness of who you are. But it'd be really great if you could give us a bit of a potted history of how you got to where you are now, how you got into Bowen, and what made you decide to join the BTPA.
Yeah, sure. So I've been involved with Bowen and BTPA for quite a while now. I originally qualified in computer systems engineering, so I had a completely different background. And having worked in that field for 12, 13 years, I was ready for a break, a change. And I think it's my mum's influence that pushed me towards complementary therapy, because that was her background, was nursing and midwifery, and she was doing massage. So I always had this in the back of my mind, like, I quite like doing that sort of thing. And about 1999, I think it was, I was looking to do some other training. And I'd chosen physiotherapy at the time. I'm thinking that's a very good way to start. And she gave me a leaflet about Bowen Therapy and said, have a look at this. This is meant to be as good as physiotherapy. So yeah, I went along to one of Josh Tennant's workshops and just fell in love with it. It was just amazing technique. I just really got on with it well and started using it straight away. And then thought, I want to do more of this. I went part time at the office and then set up a clinic in London. I did that for a couple of years, but there was something at the back of my mind making me think, I need to know more. I need to go and get some more experience. So in 2004, I went and trained as an osteopath. So I did 4-year course to get a bit more experience, a bit more skills. But going back, so kind of the time that I'd qualified, this association was called the Bowen Therapists European Register. And they were going through a bit of an issue after one of their AGMs. The sort of organisation was being trying to sort of forced into a limited company kind of condition rather than the not-for-profit working for the members kind of association that it is today. And there was an emergency general meeting and everybody got together and they sort of decided that, no, we want to keep it as this association of members. Everyone was asked, put your hand up if you want to get involved and help secure the future of the BTER. And I was at that meeting and I maybe foolishly put my hand up and got allocated the secretary role. So I was on the committee and I was on the committee as the secretary for a year or so. And I've been involved with the association as BTER and in its renamed form, BTPA, ever since. Usually in the background. I only did a year on committee initially because I was possibly thinking about training people. So you can't be a tutor and be on the committee. So I stepped away briefly, but I was still involved mainly because of the skills that I'd brought from the previous career. So I had all these sort of websites and admin and print design kind of skills. There were still things for me to do within the association, and I carried on doing those, like creating the journal, working on the website and various things. And yes, I've been doing that over the years. And then I think about 6 years ago, I was pulled back onto committee because the committee members were disappearing, tiring, and they needed a new lot. So again, I put my hand up, and I've been working as the membership secretary most recently, but also the treasurer. But yes, I'm one of the early ones that's stuck around.
Yeah, wow. For the people listening as well, I just don't think anybody can really appreciate how much work Richard does in the background. Like there's myself, there's Nicholas, there's Linda, we're all part of the committee, but Richard is the man that makes this thing run. So in the background, there is more. If any emails are sent in, it's nearly always Richard that's responding to stuff. He is, kind of a million hats on this man, and where he finds the time and the energy to do everything he does to help keep this association going is pretty crazy. And I don't think enough credit is given to you for how much time and energy you put into this. I find it really interesting at the moment because there was some parallels in your story there that, there's almost crisis point and it's kind of like put your hand up, help along. And, it is 2 years now, isn't it? When we get to this AGM, it's 2 years ago that we had we need more committee members. Otherwise we don't have enough on the committee to keep things going. And I was like, I'm not going to let that go. I'm not going to let this fail at this point just because I'm not prepared to put in a little bit of time and energy. So, in a similar way, 2 years ago, there's me putting my hat into the ring and offering to support, and that's really the only way this association runs is people being willing to create surplus, to do that little bit extra, not just for themselves, but for everybody else. And I think it's generally quite an unappreciated task. And I'm not sure that a lot of people really know why we have associations and why we bother to create these bodies. I love the fact that BTPA is non-for-profit as well, and so really a lot of the work we do, with some exceptions, is done completely voluntarily. But I'd be curious about your take on not just BTPA, but why you think in the therapy industry, in the bodywork industry, in the work we do, why do we need associations? Why do we need to have a space that our membership is kind of organized? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't realize quite how many complementary therapies there are being practiced in this country, but there are only a few that are state regulated. What we're trying to do is elevate ourselves almost and sort of say we are as good as some of these state regulated professions, at least people that have put in the effort, done the extra training, put the hand up and said, yes, I'm standing up for standards. I'm going to make sure that I'm up to scratch in all my skills. I have all the relevant qualifications. Obviously, not everybody wants to do that. There's lots of people that get trained and they're happy to sort of, work with friends and family, and it becomes a little bit of a hobby. But Bowen especially has grown over the last few decades, and it is now becoming more widely known, and it's taken a long time. And we don't want it to sort of fade away. But generally, when a therapy comes along, and this happened in the late 90s or maybe late 80s, when a therapy is brought into a country and nobody knows about it, there needs to be a grouping together of all the practitioners. And I think this is something that Julian Baker set up originally, the BTER. He just wanted there to be a way for people to connect, a register where people can actually look and find these therapists. Like I say, comparing it to the state-regulated therapies like chiropractic, physiotherapy, osteopathy, there are thousands and thousands of people on their registers. And to be able to sort of put ourselves next to these guys and say, yeah, we can do that as well. What we need is a big voice, a big list of people that are willing to go, yeah, I believe in Bowen therapy. I want it to be a professional standard. I want to be able to sort of know that I'm part of this big group that's growing that can say, yes, we can offer a treatment just like a physio or an osteo can offer a treatment. And the bigger we grow, the more we're recognized. So, especially through the voluntary regulator, the CNHC in this country, because we're a verifying organisation for their regulator, our members can join the CNHC, and then they're on another register which is accepted by NHS doctors. If they were to refer their patients to a complementary therapist, they're going to be looking at a certain list. So we really want all our members to be on that list as well. But it's just about sticking your hand up in the air and going, I'm here. I'm not just a little therapy that's just dwindling along and not standing up for itself. There's hundreds of complementary and alternative medicine practitioners out there that aren't part of an association. They're quite happy just to tick along doing their own little thing. But to sort of really sort of push the profession forward, you've got to sort of stand up and say, yes, we are equivalent to somebody that's been doing these other therapies, or at least in terms of outcome, we can produce the same results maybe that somebody else can. But we need people in the public to know there is an alternative. So the state-regulated therapies are quite well known. The non-state regulated ones, not so much. So there needs to be a voice. There needs to be association. And I had a quick look on the on the web, and the main other complementary therapies have all got professional associations. They've all got something that their practitioners can join, and members can then sort of have a voice. They can stand up and be counted. They can sort of, just be a part of a growing group. And we want Bowen to be part of that growing group as well.
Yeah, perfect. A good part of what comes in for me on that is the nature of validation and just the reason why because again, within the BTPA, there's a lot of time and energy gone into looking at the training courses that are offered in the UK and further afield for Bowen practitioners, and making sure that they're of particular standards, making sure that our main schools of Bowen technique in the UK, those that can bring you up to a recognized practitioner status, make sure that they're working to a set of national occupational standards that are reasonable without being constrictive, but also provide a decent benchmark so that when you know that you're in the BTPA, it means that your training has been of a certain standard, has met certain requirements. And those are not just things that we have arbitrarily put together, but can be looked at from a national level by organizations like the CNHC, Complementary and Natural Healthcare Council, and the public and upcoming practitioners can all have the confidence that they are seeing somebody who is of a professional standard. So it's partly we're here to weed out the pirates. We're partly here to separate the kind of the less professionally qualified, because in these days of online distance AI supported learning, you could probably find a course that would qualify you in Bowen technique in a weekend. But it wouldn't be to standard, it wouldn't be recognized, and it wouldn't have the same validity as those of us who have done training to a professional standard. So I'd love to hear your views on the importance of that, but also the problem of not having that.
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to the fact that, if you're not a state regulated profession, anybody can call themselves X, Y, or Z. So anybody can pick up a book about Bowen therapy, have a quick read. Yes, I'm a Bowen therapist, set up in practice. They don't need to have done any training, have no insurance, no continuing professional development. They can just claim to be whatever they want, and they can have a flash website, and the public will find it possibly and go, I'll try them, and then have a very strange experience, because if they've experienced Bowen before and then they go to somebody that's not properly trained, it's going to dampen our reputation in some way. It's going to take it down a few notches if everybody that gets found through the internet is a poor Bowen therapist. So the whole point of having professional associations and the CNHC is that the public can kind of go, well, let me look for a Bowen therapist, and up pops the Bowen Therapy Professional Association register, and then they can go, okay, let's have a look. Well, that person's not on the list. And a lot of calls I get from the public are, well, I found a Bowen therapist, but they're not on your register. What's that about? And I have to explain to them, well, that probably means that they haven't done all the training, or maybe they don't have a first aid certificate, or they've not met all the requirements to join the professional association. And if they're working professionally, if they're charging you for their treatment services, why are they not working to a professional standard? So I always sort of then refer these inquiries back to somebody who is on our list. And it's really important to sort of, for the public, to be able to find somebody they can rely on. And like I say, if somebody had a Bowen therapy treatment, and then they go to somebody that says they're a Bowen therapist, isn't doing quite what they want, maybe the pressure is extreme, maybe they come away bruised. I've had a few, again, from the public, a few complaints about people, but they've not been on our registers. I can sort of say, well, if you'd come to us first, we could have sort of pointed you in the right direction. Our association has a disciplinary procedures. People that, again, they're standing up for standards. If they're joining our association, they're willing to say, yes, I'm of a certain standard. I've done all the training. You can rely on me. If they slip up, they accept that they would be subject to a disciplinary procedure. But the main point there is that the public can be reassured of the quality of a therapist if they're looking on the CNHC list or the BTPA register of therapists.
I think one of the things I wanted to point out from that is that just because people aren't on a register doesn't mean they're not working to professional standards. I just want to shout out to any Bowen practitioners out there who are not on one of the registers. Doesn't mean you're not working to professional standards. And your clients could only experience that after being with you. But what we're offering is a reassurance to the public ahead of any first meeting that if you choose somebody from the BTPA register, then you know that the standards of training, professionalism, accountability that they are agreeing to are of a level you can feel safe with. It's kind of like the difference between buying a product from an organization that you can see has got its checks and balances in place, is ethical, responsible in what they're doing, and then just picking something up that's being sold off of something like Facebook Marketplace or something like that. And not actually knowing. And we certainly know that in the modern age of internet technology being the way it is and programming technology, that people can make things look really cool on the surface, really good on the surface. But, the joke around Temu as a shopping system is, there are lots of memes about the fact that what you think you're buying off Temu and what you actually get are never the same thing. So it's very easy to make things look like they might be of a professional standard, but really there's no third party that has said, yes, that practitioner is of an acceptable standard within what we're doing. And that I think if you're doing your due diligence as a practitioner, part of what is important is you're able to broadcast that you are coming from a perspective that is nationally recognized and supported. So there's a reassurance that the quality of what you're going to get is already at a certain point before you've ever stepped in a room with somebody. And, as I've spoken about many times, and the festivals that I go and work through the summer, it's surprising to me how many people say, I think I've had Bowen technique before. I think this person did this treatment on me that sounds a bit like what you're doing. And then surprisingly, so many of them after they've had a session with me, and bearing in mind, I'm only doing kind of 30-minute taster sessions for people in a tent in the middle of a field, in a festival, they'll say there was nothing like what I had before. And that they can feel the difference, they can appreciate the difference in having worked with somebody that is at a professional standard. And that's part of why I'm out there. I'm got BTPA banners and leaflets, and I'm promoting the industry, the art, what we're doing here, because it is so important to know that there is a standard, and that, for me, this is a minimum. It's not that maybe for some less experienced practitioners or students who've disqualified, they're already kind of up to the top of where they are at that point in time. But for me, being part of a professional association is a minimum standard so that I can confidently work from the places I work in. My clinic here in Chester, we've got private GPs, we've got surgeons, we've got hearing specialists, eye specialists. And if I'm going to stand in that group and hold my own, it's like I'm of a standard that at a minimum is nationally recognized. And that if you want to refer anybody to me, you can be assured that they're going to get certain quality within there. And I just find it confusing that some people don't recognize the value of being able to be part of that greater group. And it's a really interesting space to be. I think, and part of the reason why I've called this interview in today, Richard, as well, and wanted to do it. So ahead of our AGM, so it's that kind of, come on, people, come and join in. Come and join us for a meeting. Come and hang out, do some stuff, talk to Bowen therapists, because we're often very satellite workers. We're often either working on our own, or we're working in a clinic where we might be the only Bowen practitioner and we might not very often see other practitioners in the group. So there's a social aspect to that as well, knowing that you're part of a group that are all aiming in the same direction. But I've been aware in the 2 years that I've been in the BTPA that we're not seeing increasing membership, that we are financially starting to see a terminal point. If things don't change, we're looking at a terminal point in having an association such as this, and that there's a loss in our link to things that are above us as well. So the BTPA is a bridge between those practitioners and people, CNHC, but then also the medical end of things. And we're potentially losing that link. And I'd love to hear, as the treasurer, as the membership secretary, to give us just an insight into the position we're in and the timescale we're talking about, and what you think that could mean to Bowen therapy, to the practitioners in the UK, if we don't switch that around.
Yeah, I mean, if we just sort of skip back 10 years, we were at our sort of heyday. We had over 500 members. The subscription income was sufficient that we could be doing active marketing and PR. There was a lot more people involved. We had a much bigger committee. A lot more people were coming to the annual general meeting. And over that period of time, things have sort of shrunk down a bit. There has been a few influences, a few explanations for why that happened. At one point, newly qualified practitioners were being recommended to go and join the Federation of Holistic Therapists, the FHT, rather than a therapy specific association like the BTPA, which really makes no sense if you're sort of passionate about Bowen and you want to promote Bowen. These big organizations that accept anyone aren't going to do anything to help you promote your own specific therapy. And I mean, the FHT these days is in a much lower state because it's now no longer recognized by the PSA. It's not on the accredited register list for the PSA, the Professional Standards Authority, which the CNHC is. So there's only really one place that the government recognizes if you want complementary therapies. We have to look at the CNHC if you're talking about Bowen therapy. So the other professional association, the BA UK, is another verifying organisation. So we're in similar sort of situations. I think we're both shrinking in numbers, but we're the only people that can feed practitioners onto that CNHC register list. They don't accept membership applications directly. It has to be through one of their verifying organisations. So it's imperative that BTPA continues so that we can keep feeding people onto that CNHC register and keep making our association look more professional and recognised by NHS doctors and insurance companies that like to know that yes, you're on a proper register, so we can sort of pay out for that treatment. Yeah, I mean, we've been in this situation where we've been watching the membership numbers drop a little bit, and we've been working with the schools and the tutors to try and encourage all their new students to join our association. And there's a free membership option for students, so there's no reason not to join the BTPA when you first start. Just do that first module, that first training, get involved. But like I say, we're not for profit organisation, but that does mean we have to break even at the end of the year. If we're losing money, it becomes very tricky. And our source of income, our main source of income, is through subscription income. And we have actually effectively reduced the subs fee year on year if we take inflation into account. We've held it at the same level for about 10 years, but that is the next step. If we're unable to get an influx of new members in, we are going to have to increase the subscription fee just to meet our expenses, which obviously is not ideal. Worst case scenario, in 5 years' time, if we are unable to sustain the finances and we forced to close, then that have a huge hit, I think, on Bowen therapy as a profession, in this country. That professional standing would just eke away. It'd be very hard then for the public to find those reliable therapists and know that, oh, I'm going to get a safe, effective treatment from somebody if it's very hard to find somebody in the first place. So, since the early days when the Bowens first taught, there must be thousands of practitioners that have been qualified. So we need to appeal to some of these people that are not part of an association and sort of say, are you sort of passionate about keeping Bowen alive and making it into this, comparative therapy that everybody sort of thinks, oh, I could go to the physio, or actually I'll go to the Bowen therapist this time. But we need big numbers. If you go onto the osteopathic register, there's 4,000 of those. Chiropractics have got nearly 4,000. If you go onto the CSP, the physiotherapy register, there's 65,000 physios. Obviously, not all doing similar sort of treatment that we're doing, but we need to build our numbers from a few hundred to a few thousand, and we need to do it fairly quickly. Now, there are Bowen practitioners out there who could help us out, support the association, even if they're just joining us as an associate member, just to sort of be part of that group, get the benefits from associate membership. But those that want that extra benefit, that's for sort of the register accreditation, they need to join us as a full member. So yeah, we're keen to sort of get all the students that are training at the moment onto our free membership scheme. We offer them a half price upgrade when they're qualified. They can join as an associate or full member for half price. And as a little incentive, any of our members referring new practitioners to us will get 25% off their subscription fee renewal. So if you know somebody that's not in an association, give them a little nudge. We need to build our numbers. We need to make sure that BTPA and Bowen thrives into the next decade.
I don't think people really recognize how useful that is. I know sometimes the question comes back, well, I don't necessarily get a lot of direct referral through something like the BTPA or the CNAC websites. But for me, that's not what it's about. Like I'm a member of multiple registers and associations for various things that I do. And all that does is add kudos into my practice, so that I know that when people look at my website, when they look at my stuff, that they know that I'm of a professional standard in all the areas that I offer to work, so that it's very clear that what they're getting from me is of a level. I think one of the other really important things, because I realized that kind of the COVID years changed things, people that went into retirement, people that changed. I know that we were aging out through some of our practitioner population as well. So we had a lot of people that were in older age groups and had reached that point of retiring back, which is fair enough. But we're in a really unique point in history. And I don't know that we can overstate how much the imminent breakdown in the NHS, because I don't know about you, Richard, but for the past 4 or 5 years, I've been busier than I've ever been in my career. Like my Shrewsbury clinic is booked up until mid-January. My Chester clinic is booked up until early December. I'm busier than I've ever been in my entire career, 22 years so far. And a lot of it is coming from the fact that the NHS is on its knees struggling. And this is exactly the moment to be showing up as somebody who has a professional standard and can help to lighten the burden on the NHS. And your visibility as being at that professional level is a key part of how you're going to manage to do that. Like I don't know about you, but it just baffles me that people are not looking at the landscape and seeing the opportunity that's there and the potential for us to just fill this gap of issues that's there in the NHS. How are you seeing that? Because I mean, you're based down in Leicester, you're at the Absolute Health Clinic there, you're a multidisciplinary team. How are you seeing things from the clinic side?
Yeah, certainly the local GP surgeries seem to be shrinking their services, and they know about our clinic, and they are sort of encouraging people to go to the private clinic up the road, which is in a way you think, well, that's not great for people who are expecting free treatment, but when they're on a waiting list and they know they're in pain and they're not going to see anybody, or maybe they'll get a phone call in 6 weeks, most people will take that first step. And beauty of Bowen is, you can make changes very quickly, and within a few treatments, people are realizing, oh, actually, this is worthwhile. This is something that I will think about next time I have a problem. And people and they're not going to their GP as frequently because, well, a, it's very difficult to get an appointment, but they know that, oh, I'm just going to be burdening the NHS and adding, I'm going to be put on a waiting list. Yeah, I think working with these GPs, if everybody sort of got in touch with their local surgeries, especially if they're on the CNHC register, you can say, I'm on an accredited register. You are entitled to refer your patients to me, rather than, well, maybe in addition to putting them on a waiting list or something, why not send them along for a few sessions and let's see if we can help them get them out of discomfort in the meantime. Maybe then they won't need that extra bit of treatment, and that extra cost that would be coming out of your NHS budget. So I think if all the Bowen therapists suddenly sort of started talking with their doctor surgeries, we could really sort of take some of that load off them, and make a big difference. And that applies to a lot of complementary therapies. We've all got to sort of be in that professional status to sort of say, we can help out here. We can take a load off the NHS, because, like you say, it's on its knees a little bit. It's throwing money at the NHS isn't necessarily going to improve it either at the moment. But we're there. We can help people. We know that, and we just need to make sure that they can find us.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the things as well that a lot of people don't realize is that through their GP practice, everybody has a right to access what's called social prescribing or green prescribing. So this is actually a system where the budget that's set aside for social prescribing for the NHS, you can go and request to have that spent on you for certain things. And they include all sorts of things in it. And there's all sorts of possibilities within there. So, gym memberships, other types of what we would consider as private healthcare, which is in a sense where Bowen comes in. But you can actually get a lot of that funded. Speaking to the GP, being on that CNHC register that you can access by being part of the BTPA, and being able to encourage patients to look at social prescribing. I think one of the other things that people forget as well is that a lot more companies, businesses, individuals have private medical insurance these days, because again, with the state of the NHS being where it is, a lot of people are preferring to go private, which means that they're buying into private medical insurance schemes to make it more cost efficient. And whenever I get asked about whether or not what I do is covered by insurance, the question I always get back is, am I part of BTPA or the CNHC? Because if I'm not in one of those, and a lot of the time it's the CNHC that's the real kind of trigger for it. If I'm not in one of those recognized associations, then your patients are not eligible to claim back their insurance through it. And make life easy for people. I mean, I kind of laugh about the fact that, if we think on average, we're saying to people 3 treatments of Bowen is what's going to get you into a reasonable place for most people for most issues. So when you think about one client, you're going to see them 3 times. And if you think about the cost of that, that's easily going to cover your BTPA membership. So 2 clients in a year cover your BTPA and your CNHC membership. And in the space of a year, at the moment, I'm averaging about 600 clinical hours. So that means the 598 of my clients are not taking away from the costs I've had to pay into those things. So it's like it's a minuscule fraction of income to be able to do in this. And and I think we have to look in terms of what we gain and the financial bonuses that we can have from being in this place, but also just, I don't think we're speaking enough as well about the community side of it, of being with a group of individuals, all with the same interests. And, the fact that we have our journal, we have our newsletter stuff that goes out. And although it's public access, all of this kind of promotional material that we're doing through our YouTube channel. I mean, I had a quick look on the stats earlier on today. And in the last year, there's been over 27,000 views of our YouTube channel in the last year, and that's decent. We started putting the little short clips that I started putting through our social media. I started putting back into YouTube Shorts, into another system on there. And in the first kind of month, we had over 1,000 views of our little short clips going through there. And they've really boosted our traffic really quickly. And again, all of the links in all of those interviews, in all of those clips, are driving people back to the BTPA, back to our practitioner register. And it's kind of like one of the reasons why I'm so busy is because people can find me. I'm not hard to find, and
Yeah,
you could be the
and
best
people are looking.
therapist in the world. And if no one can find you,
Yeah, I mean, we've got, I think, about 6,000 people a month looking on the register at the moment. Obviously, they're looking for other things as well. They're interested in testimonials and research and Bowen for children. But the majority of people coming to our website are looking for a therapist. So, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of them are going to be disappointed because they won't find somebody near to them. But as the register grows, if we can get more of these practitioners onto our register, the chance of having somebody in or near a town or city, or all the major towns or cities in the country, is going to grow as we sort of build our numbers. And this is what we want. We don't want people coming on and being disappointed. We want them to go, "Oh, I found one. Great." Yeah. And, the other things that we offer, the regional interest groups are really important, and they're sort of picking up again. Just the ability to network. If you're working on your own in a clinic, you can feel isolated. And if there's a few other therapists within an easy drive away, just to be able to sort of meet up from time to time and exchange difficult case studies or swap treatments, or bring a tutor in to do some CPD workshops. And it's really important just to have that sort of little community, part of the wider community of our association generally. And the other great thing we've got is our mentor scheme. So, if people are struggling, and it might be a business issue, might be a clinic issue, we've got a dozen or so people that have put their name down to say, yes, I've been doing this a while. I'm willing to help my peers to sort of, if somebody wants to give me an email or a call, I'll happily chat through any issues that they may be having, and hopefully help them. Obviously, the newly graduated practitioners got the tutors in the schools they can go back to if it's a technique issue, but just to have a little bit of extra support. So, it's just another one of the benefits of being part of a wider professional association. Yeah, and our website lists all the benefits that are on offer, and there are quite a few. One of the unique ones is the free webpage that we offer all our full members. So we're really, really keen to get everybody taking up these benefits, and keen to hear what else people want from the association. The more we can do for our members, the more it entices more members to come in.
I mean, the regional interest groups, the RIGs, I love the fact that thankfully our BTPA chairman, Nicholas Tobin, literally lives 20 minutes away from me. So he's just up over there in the Wirral. And so he has restarted our Northern RIG group here as well. And it's really nice to just go and hang out with a few Bowen therapists, talk about stuff, play around with some things. We've had speakers in. It's been really, really nice to reconnect with that. I can remember in the pre-COVID years as well, while I was living down in Shropshire, and we had Erica Moss's fabulous rig that she ran for many, many years in Oswestry, which is where our AGM is going to be this year. And there's quite a concentration of people in that area. So these abilities to just meet up, connect, share. None of us get to the end of one of those meetings and say that, oh, that was a waste of time. Why did I do that? We all really enjoy the camaraderie and the connection. And that's one of the things I'm looking forward to for the AGM on the 4th as well, is just coming together with that group of people with all this specialist interest. And again, having the free web page within the website for us. Like again, you may having a website online these days is either expensive or rubbish. There doesn't seem to be a great boundary between the two. If it's expensive, it's costing you a lot to do. It's not unusual, really to be investing like £1,000 a year into a decent website. If it's rubbish, it's not actually going to be serving you. So, and again, thanks to Richard's background already, he's been able to do a lot of good SEO within the BTPA site. So we do get a lot of really good traffic. So 6,000 people a month coming in to look at the website. That's 6,000 potential clients that are looking at the services we offer. And that's 6,000 opportunities a month that you might be missing for people to go, they're near me. And quite often when we've had Bowen clients who've really benefited, they're telling people in other parts of the country, family members, friends who have got issues that are kind of synergistic with the problems that they came to see their Bowen therapist for. And they're saying, find a Bowen therapist. When I do the festivals, I'm handing out my leaflet, yeah, but a lot of the time I'm in other parts of the country. So the BTPA leaflets that have the national website on, people are saying to me, where can I see you? And I'm like, well, I'm up in another part of the country, but here's the national register. Go and find the person that's local to you. Follow this up. You'll feel much better when you do. And I had a really interesting situation in the first festival I did this year, which was O'Shala Festival down in Buckinghamshire. And we had probably about 500-600 people over the weekend. I was probably about 80% booked. And because my partner, who usually comes to assist and support me while I'm working, because I run 2 couches, 30-minute sessions over a 3-day festival, I can do in excess of 80 treatments. So I can be working quite strongly. And so I always need a bit of support there. And unfortunately, my partner had to work. She wasn't able to come to that festival. And so I put a note out on, because again, BTPA, we've got a Facebook group, so I put some stuff out on social media and had it picked up by a non-BTPA member, and she is part of the other Bowen Association within the UK, and she just found the weekend absolutely incredible to stand with me, to work, to observe. She was taking notes, asking questions, so it gave her a really good opportunity. She's been practicing for about 2 years now, so still fairly new within the practice, and just found it a really valuable weekend to be able to get some support, get some mentoring. There was a point on the last day where I was giving a talk on something else that I do. So I was going to be away from the stand for almost 2 hours. And I said to her, look, do you want to book people in? Because people are still interested in coming to have a Bowen. Do you want to book them in and just practice? And so, she was a little bit nervous at first. I'd already had to do a treatment on me. So we'd done a swap with each other as well, which was great. So I was already okay that her work was going to be okay, under my stand. And she did a fabulous job, had a really good time, and it inspired her into how else she can market her business and build her business up, which is still very early stage. And, we've compared the literature that she was using compared to the literature that I was using, and, how she could just improve on her marketing. So these became really invaluable moments of mentorship that came along. And had I not been in the position I was in and practicing the way I am and promoting BTPA the way I do, then that would have been an opportunity missed. And I think for me, it would just be so sad if we didn't continue to enhance how our membership is, how our promotion of Bowen into the UK is. If we stopped that, if we had to stop that, for me, that would be really sad.
Talking about the annual general meeting, it is a good opportunity for people to sort of get together and share sort of ideas. And we're always looking for more people to join us on the committee. And just to come along to these meetings and sort of go, well, actually, why are you not doing it this way? Or I've got this idea. Why can we do it this way? We need this. We need people with different skills and ideas to come onto the committee. The BTPA it's a membership organisation run by therapists for therapists. So we're all Bowen therapists. We've all got our own little ideas about what should be going on, but we need these ideas to come in, fresh ideas, and and people that are willing to spend a few hours a month just implementing them. So the AGM is a great way of sort of networking and sharing your ideas. I mean, one of the things that we're raising this year is modifying the CPD requirements and make it a little bit easier for people to fulfill their membership requirement and get their hours done for Bowen training. Because there are now online Bowen training courses that are perfectly suitable as CPD if you've been qualified more than 3 years. So we're kind of widening our scope for CPD acceptance. And this is going to make a big difference for a lot of people that aren't mobile as well as they used to be, or they're caring for somebody so they can't get away for more than a day. So it's going to help a lot more people, and also people overseas as well. So hopefully that will attract more people and retain more members as well, because we've had a few people drop off going, well, I can't actually get to a course. And in certain parts of the country, that's understandable because the schools are sort of quite sort of spread out. Southwest there's a lot going on, and North and Scotland, there's a lot going on, and there's gaps around the country. So we need to make it as feasible as possible for people to do their ongoing training, which is a really important part of that professional standard as well.
And I love getting together at those AGMs. You always end up seeing people that, after a year of either just interacting online or whatever, it's like, it's so nice to see. And the vibe is always really good. And I've been impressed with just the quality of the tutors we've had in for the PDD the last 2 years. And, I'll hold my hands up that in previous years, I've not been able to get along to the AGMs. I've not necessarily seen them as a priority for my own work, but now they are. And I'm really, really grateful to have attended, to have experienced the training that we get in there. Because again, we subsidize that. So it's massively beneficial. And this year, I'm really excited that we're going to have Phil Stewart. I interviewed Phil last year, so if you've listened to this, go back and listen to Phil's interview with me from last year. We're going to do a lot of kind of work into the neck. This is such a key area when you listen to Phil talk about the importance of the dura mater, and for practitioners such as Richard and I, who've done Graham Pennington's Importance of Symmetry and his Targeting Primary Dysfunction. Phil is coming in from that perspective, and just the value of that work is so rich. So to be able to get it at a discounted level is great. And it's open to non-members as well. And it's another thing I love about the BTPA is the fact that we are not excluding practitioners from any school. If they meet the standard, they're welcome to join. Everybody's welcome in our party, as long as you're doing a professional job and you're qualified to a relative level, then everybody's welcome to the party. Because and you can tell me what your thoughts on this are, Richard, but from my point of view, every perspective has a validity. Everybody's input has a place and a value in the growing corpus of understanding Bowen technique as a therapy, and understanding all these other little nuances that we have, the business side of it, the networking side of it, the marketing side of it. There are so many little parts to it, the safeguarding, the health and safety, the trauma work, understanding breathing, there's so many components as fascia research and body research is just getting bigger, that the more that we put in the room, the more that we get together, just the richer our knowledge, our experience, our skill, and our ability to do what we're all here to do, which is help people, the better that gets.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when BTER first started, there were only a couple of schools training people in Bowen therapy, and obviously that was all influenced from Ozzy Wrench's interpretation of Tom Bowen's work. But Tom was working for decades, and he evolved the work he was doing over that period, and he incorporated other techniques as he went along. So it's interesting now that we're seeing more people that are taking some of the later work, maybe Kevin Ryan or Romney Smeaton, and incorporating that as well. So we've got the basis of Bowen, but it's added to with some extra assessments or some extra testing, maybe an extra technique or here or there. But we've now got a much broader version of Bowen being taught around the world now, and we're welcoming all of Tom Bowen's interpretations in terms of the teachers and the tutors that are coming through now. So anybody that's qualified, as long as we sort of verified that their course is meeting those national occupational standards and core curriculum, we're happy to accept their sort of graduates. And it just makes it slightly more interesting. So it's not, everybody's not getting identical procedures. There's the the Bowen treatment that people are receiving may be a little bit different depending on who you see. The core part of that is still there in all of it, and the results are being produced from the new guys as well as the people that have been doing it for 30 years. So yeah, that's one of the great things about our association is we are open to all schools and tutors, and we welcome new tutors. We've had a few approaches recently, and people asking us to assess their courses and just verify that yes, they are meeting those standards, and then we're happy to add them to our list of approved courses, and then they can be used for CPD as well. So again, it makes it even more easy for people to keep up with their CPD requirements.
And this is it. We're trying to make life as easy, as supportive, as fluid for our members as we can, for the schools as well. You know, I know that Jahan has been very vocal in her support of BTPA and how useful it is and the importance of us keeping going as a school as well. And I'm also reminded as well, there's one of the clips that I recently put up onto our socials and in our YouTube is from the beloved and wonderful Anne Schubert of
Mm.
Mind Body Bowen. So, you know, over 40 years experience in practicing, you know, and if you haven't watched that interview yet, go and watch it. It's so nice. Anne is absolutely beautiful. And one of the things that she says in there is that the Bowen move as a piece of work is just absolutely genius. And there are so many different ways of it being done that everybody benefits from it. You know, light touch, heavy touch, that there are so many expressions of it that it's a piece of genius work. And we've just got to appreciate what we've got and keep on supporting it, keep on kind of putting it out there, helping people connect into it so that, again, that core drive that's in so many of us, which is just to help people, help make the world a better place, bring more kind of peace and ease and health into the world. You know, we're there doing it with this wonderful technique we've got. And when we look at our commonalities and when we look at what we can all bring and offer to the table, you've got John Garfield's assessment work, you've got Ron Phelan's work, you've got the hormonal work, you've got Smart Bowen, you've got IOS, you've got so many parts to this that are all adding great value into the world. And we've just got to work together and do more things together.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So we've been speaking for almost an hour, Rich. Well done. And again, I'm really grateful to Richard because he's just been getting over a little cold this week. And so he's done incredibly well to, you know, kind of be able to speak to us today. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in just over, it's about 2 weeks, isn't it? We are from Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that there are still a few spaces on Phil's workshop. So if you're watching this video before the 4th of October and you think, oh, great, a bit of cheap CPD that's going to be really useful, get that booking form sent in. It's on our website, www.bowentherapy.org.uk. Homepage, you can find the booking form. Send it in quickly though. And yeah, and we look forward to seeing you at the workshop.
And there will be links in the description. So, you know, it'll be nice and easy to find. I think as well as part of what I like to do at the end of these interviews, I just want to ask you, is there anything that we're not talking about within bodywork and Bowen that you think we should be putting more focus into over the coming years?
Yeah, I mean, with the experience from my osteopathy background as well, I just think there's so much that could be taught in addition to all the things that are currently taught. So the possible expansion of bone therapy to incorporate more assessment techniques and just to have that clinical skills knowledge is going to be really important, especially if people are coming to us rather than their doctor. Meanwhile, get on those red flag courses, do the safeguarding course, get the extra skills, look for all these things that could enhance your professional practice. You know, as part of our CPD requirement, we ask for Bowen CPD, but we also ask for other activities to be completed, anything that will enhance your practice, maybe business, but you know, therapy related as well. So always keep looking, keep looking. There's plenty of courses out there, online or in person. Keep building those skills because I think the schools are sort of pulling all this information into their new curricula. But yeah, once you've got your qualification, just keep looking, keep training, keep being the best therapist you can be.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Richard. And again, you know, you've got 20 4 years of Bowen experience now. And I know that you're still passionate about your learning, your development. I've been going for a wee while now. And again, it's part of what makes this really rich is just these nuances, these little bits that as we build and build and build and build, we get this just beautiful kind of corpus of understanding about the body, about people. Super grateful that I'm so grateful that I get to do this as a career. It's just, it's a magical, magical thing to work with people. Yeah, come and join us on the 4th of October in Oswestry, which for those of you that don't know where Oswestry is, that's Shropshire. For those of you that don't know where Shropshire is, it's west of Birmingham. So we're just slightly up and west of Birmingham where we're going to be. It's good transport links to get in there. They're not hard roads to get down in there. So it's like pretty much dual carriageway on either side into Oswestry. So straightforward, coming from the north, coming from the south, coming from the east, come on into the AGM, come and see us, have a hug, join in with all of the fun stuff that we're going to do. And Richard, again, from all of us in Bowen, speaking on behalf of everybody else, thank you for all of your hard work in the BTPA. It really would not run without you. I want to make sure that it keeps running for as long as it can. So be part of the organization, come and join in and put your mark on the world with Bowen as well. Be part of something greater.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Long may it continue.
Yeah, long may it continue. There's links for everything down in the description there. And also remember the usual like and subscribe, share this, send it out to people. If you know other Bowen practitioners who are not part of the BTPA yet, send them the interview. Encourage them to come and join in. Say, look, there's cheap training going on at the AGM. Come on down, come and join in. But, help make this the reason why we succeed. Don't be the reason why we don't. Everybody, look after yourselves. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Richard. We'll see you all
Thanks,
again for
Ben.
another one of these BTPA podcasts. Take care.
Bye.